It's that time to predict the Premier League once again. We are going to look at all the Game Week 3 fixtures and go through my thoughts on each of those. But first, let's head back to Game Week 2 and see how we did. So we've got all of the games, my predictions, and the final scores. It's another bad week. We got 4 points. Reminder of the scores: 0 if you get it wrong, 1 if you get the right result, 3 if you get bang on the correct scoreline. I got Chelsea right. I don't think anyone really thought that West Ham were just as bad as they are. Obviously, they lost to Sunderland, right? But maybe Sunderland were good. No, West Ham are just absolutely dreadful, which will be reflected in the next predictions. Arsenal battered Leeds. Leeds were really good against Everton, and whilst they couldn't really find the back of the net, the way that they were playing was really impressive. Arsenal were not good against Man United, whereas both teams in this game completely flipped things around and Arsenal battered them. But at least I said that would be the right result. I got the next one completely wrong. Burnley beating Sunderland 2-0. Again, based off of their opening fixtures, this felt like the right result to go for. But now, as we get further and further into the season, we can actually try to understand teams properly rather than just basing it off of one game. We had Brentford against Villa, and Villa just haven't turned up so far this season. Brentford are looking a little bit better than I thought they would without Frank, without Mbuemo, without Norgard, sorry. And yeah, Villa, they just look incredibly flat. Then we got Bournemouth against Wolves. I got this one right. Wolves just not really starting the season very impressively, are they? Bournemouth doing okay considering they lost so much of their defensive unit. The big one, though, Spurs turning over Man City with a clean sheet. I did say it in the prediction. I feel like it's a risk going for a Man City win because Spurs just are this bogey team for them. And somehow they managed to do it. And turns out, it doesn't really matter who the manager is, who the players are. City, for whatever reason, cannot handle them. And Spurs are starting the season looking fantastic, it has to be said. Man United, I thought after the Arsenal game that they would basically go on to play how they did in that one against Fulham. No, they weren't very good. And since then, they've also been knocked out of the cup by Grimsby. United and Amorim are just a bit of a shambles, aren't they? Everton against Brighton. Everton, I based this once again on the first game, and they struggled against Leeds, but they looked a different team. They looked really, really good. Grealish, a difference maker. I did believe that in that prediction, I said that I might change it if Grealish starts. So going forward, that is now the assumption that he is going to start these games. He looked great, and it looks like he's going to have the freedom at Everton that maybe he's lacked a little bit before. They have now also finalised the signing of Tyler Dibbling as well from Southampton for big money, it has to be said. Brighton, though, I'm just saying, in my league predictions, I didn't have them very high. I don't think they're going to be incredible this season. Then I thought that Forest would beat Palace, but turns out Palace love a draw to start off the season, and Forest just weren't as good as they probably should have been. But we'll see how they do in their next one because they've got Sunderland. And then I had Liverpool to beat Newcastle 3-1. They did get the win 3-2. However, that does not tell the story of that game where they got battered against 10 men for the majority of the game and then get saved by their wonder kid at the very, very end. It was an incredibly entertaining game. Going to be up there with like probably top 5 games of the season already. It was amazing. But that's last week. 4 points, disappointing. Let me know how you did, and let's get into this week's predictions. No Friday night football this week, but we do have an early game on Saturday, and it is Chelsea up against Fulham. I think that Chelsea are probably going to slap them about a bit. Fulham have been okay so far, and I feel like maybe some people will underestimate them and have Chelsea winning this like 4-0 based on their last game that they played. But will Cole Palmer be back? If so, how is that going to affect the dynamic of the team in terms of positionings of like Esteval and João Pedro playing as like that 10 role behind Delap or something like that. It's going to be really interesting, but I think Chelsea are just going to have too much. So even though it's the early kickoff and it is cursed, I'll go for a Chelsea win. We move on to Manchester United against Burnley. This is basically do or die for United. Old Trafford against a team that have not been good so far this season. They can't score a goal. If you do not beat these, Amarim's gone. Surely. I know it's very early in the season and you've backed him in the summer to build on this sort of style and formation and everything like that, but another manager could come in and play like a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 with this squad very, very easily. You'd probably have a few casualties in the likes of Dorgu, who's been brought in as an out-and-out wing-back, but the rest of the signings should work. Like, Cunha can just play as a left wing that drifts inside, and Buemo played right wing previously. It's fine. You'd be able to push Bruno further forward. Maybe you'd actually get a use out of Mainu, who now wants to leave on loan. Yeah, this is a huge game for United, and I think because of that, they are going to win it 2-0. Sunderland against Brentford is another 3 o'clock kickoff. Tough one to call this. Sunderland against West Ham were great. However, that might actually just be because West Ham are pretty pony. Brentford, as I said before, have been a little bit better than expected so far with the losses that they took at their club. So I'm going to go for a cautious Brentford win here, 2-1. Spurs, Bournemouth though. Spurs doing very, very well, aren't they? Clean sheets, goals. What more could you ask for? Bournemouth, not as bad as expected, so I think they will actually get a goal in this game. Maybe the likes of Semenyo gets another goal before someone swoops in and tries to get him on deadline day. But Spurs have just been really, really good, and so I can't really bet against them right now. So we'll go with another victory, 3-1 Spurs. Wolves have been poor. Everton have been better in their second game than their first one. And I'm going to say that that spirit that they got from their first game at their new stadium is going to continue into this next away game at Wolves. Grealish starting. Will Dibbling start? Maybe. And Jai, Dewsbury Hall in the 8 role now. Beto or Barry. Hopefully Barry for their sake. I think Everton are going to be exciting, and I think they're going to get the win here. 2-0. Leeds up against Newcastle. Leeds got battered by Arsenal. Newcastle looked great against Liverpool. Now, there is a bit of a caveat here, though. They got their striker in Gordon sent off. They also got a couple of injuries in midfield, which we don't know whether they're going to be available to start. As it stands, I'm sort of hoping that at least one of them, maybe the injury wasn't that bad and they can still play. Otherwise, maybe I would actually give at least a goal to Leeds and maybe pushing towards a draw. So it depends on the starting 11, but based on how they played last game, and they can start a Sula instead of Gordon, and they'll probably be fine. It is Leeds after all. I'll still go with the Newcastle win. Tough one, this one. Brighton against Man City. Which Man City are we going to get? Game week 1, where they're just tearing them apart, or game week 2, where they flatter to deceive? It's so hard to predict, isn't it? But it's City, and you have to think there's more chance that they're going to be the good City than the bad City. And so for that reason, and that reason alone, I'm going to go with them to win away at Brighton here. Brighton just, I feel like they're a little bit lackluster. So 0-2. Forest against West Ham. I'm hoping that this one is accurate because I brought Chris Wood into my FPL team to get rid of Jared Bowen, who has been doing nothing. And I'm going to captain him. Spoiler for the FPL video going out tomorrow. So hopefully this one's right. Otherwise, typical FPL. Put your money on West Ham to win this game with Bowen scoring at least 1, because that's how FPL works. But I'm going to stick and double down. Forest 3-0, West Ham are dreadful. Liverpool, Arsenal, what a game this could be. I don't think there's anyone out there that is going to have this game as anything other than both teams to score. Surely, right? Arsenal have just demolished Leeds. Gyökeres is off the mark, scoring a brace. Liverpool defensively are all over the place and look like any team in the league would be able to get at them, but they score goals. Ekitike has started this season on fire. Salah, even though he's been poor in both games, has still got a goal involvement in both of them. Gakpo has looked amazing as well. Florian Wirtz needs to get off the mark in terms of a goal or an assist, but has still had moments where you've been like, that is why they have bought him. Szoboszlai had to slot in at right back in their last game and looked amazing. And then also sort of got the half assist for the winner with that beautiful dummy before it went to Rio at the back post. So I'm going to edge it to Liverpool because they're at home. I think that is obviously always a big factor. You saw how much it was spurring on Newcastle against Liverpool. Now you're going to see that flipped the other way round, and Liverpool are going to have that hype behind them from the crowd the entire game. And Arsenal are, I think, going to be a little bit intimidated by that. It is Anfield. It is, when it's the big games like Champions League or these massive ties in the Premier League, the atmosphere at Anfield is incredible. In most average games, it's the same as any other ground. But these ones, that level of volume just goes through the roof. And I think that's going to be a big impact here. And Liverpool are just going to edge it 3-2, but hopefully a really entertaining game. And the final one, which is, I think, 7 o'clock on Sunday. Don't know what's going on there. But we've got Villa against Palace. A full day of football. Two teams that have been a bit poor so far to start the season. Villa just can't really score. Ollie Watkins just not doing anything so far for my FPL. Come on, Ollie, this is your last chance. Otherwise, you're out. Palace also not really doing that much, not being that impressive. Eze's now gone permanently. It's not as if he's out the squad due to speculation. He is gone for good. And it looks like Gahey will be the next one out the door, most likely to Liverpool, especially with how poorly Kanate has started this season. So they've got a lot to deal with in that regard. Glasner has actually made some quite fiery comments when it comes to the signings at the club, that he has said the level of player that he needs and wants for his team this season. And as it stands, they're just sort of losing players without bringing in the quality to replace them. So maybe a little bit of a rift starting there, but hopefully for their sake that can be healed and maybe they can make some signings in the last few days of the window. I will also be making a video talking about who won the transfer window, ranking every team's window once it is slammed shut, is of course the phrase you have to use. But those are my predictions for this game week. Let me know yours down in the comments, and I'll see you for another video, which will be my Champions League phase predictions coming out later today. In a bit.